Have you ever dreamed of finding the lost city of Atlantis? The legendary island that sank beneath the waves in a single day and night? For thousands of years, this story has captivated explorers, historians, and dreamers alike. But what if I told you that almost everything you think you know about Atlantis is wrong? Today, we're diving deep to uncover the 7 biggest mistakes we all make when talking about this sunken civilization. Get ready, because the truth is even more fascinating than the myth. First up, the biggest mistake of all: thinking Atlantis was a real historical place. I know, this might be a tough one to swallow, but the only ancient source that ever mentions Atlantis is the Greek philosopher Plato, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. That's it. No other ancient texts from Greece, Egypt, or anywhere else mention this powerful island empire. Most modern historians and archaeologists agree that Plato likely invented Atlantis as a thought experiment, a fictional story to illustrate his ideas about politics, power, and the ideal state. It was a cautionary tale, not a historical record. So, while it's fun to imagine, there's no solid evidence it ever existed outside of Plato's imagination. Mistake number 2: believing Atlantis was in the Atlantic Ocean. The name itself seems like a dead giveaway, right? Atlantis in the Atlantic. Plato even says it was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. This has led countless people to search the vast Atlantic, from the Bahamas to the coast of Spain. But here's the twist: the name Atlantic likely came from the Atlas Mountains in North Africa, which the ancient Greeks believed held up the sky. Plato's story was the origin of the name for the ocean, not the other way around. People have proposed locations all over the world, from the Mediterranean island of Santorini to Antarctica, but the Atlantic connection is purely based on Plato's fictional geography. Now for mistake number 3, the idea that Atlanteans were an advanced, almost futuristic civilization with flying machines and crystal power. This is a very modern addition to the myth, popularized by 19th century writers and New Age beliefs. In Plato's original story, Atlantis was powerful, yes, but it was a Bronze Age civilization. They had impressive engineering, a strong military, and wealth from trade, with canals, harbors, and temples adorned with precious metals. But there's no mention of lasers, crystal energy grids, or spaceships. Those exciting details were added much later to make the story even more spectacular. The real power of Plato's Atlantis was its societal structure and military might, not sci-fi technology. This leads us to mistake number 4, picturing Atlanteans as peaceful, enlightened beings. In many modern retellings, Atlantis is a utopia, a paradise of wisdom and harmony. But Plato tells a very different story. His Atlanteans were initially noble and virtuous, but they became corrupted by greed and ambition. They were a powerful, expansionist empire that waged war against Athens and other nations. Plato used Atlantis as an example of how a society can fall from grace when it loses its moral compass. They weren't peaceful mystics, they were proud warriors whose hubris led to their downfall. The story is a classic tale of pride before the fall. Mistake number 5 is a specific one, linking Atlantis to the Bermuda Triangle. This is a classic case of two popular mysteries getting mashed together. The idea is that some leftover Atlantean technology, perhaps a giant energy crystal at the bottom of the sea, is responsible for the planes and ships that have mysteriously disappeared in the region. It's a thrilling idea, but there's zero connection between the two legends. The Bermuda Triangle phenomenon only became a popular concept in the mid-20th century, thousands of years after Plato wrote about Atlantis. It's a fun theory for fiction, but it has no basis in the original legend or in reality. Next, mistake number 6, believing that survivors of Atlantis spread their knowledge across the world, building the pyramids in Egypt and Central America. This theory was made famous by a writer named Ignatius Donnelly in the 19th century. He proposed that Atlantis was the mother culture for all ancient civilizations. It's an intriguing idea, but it's also been widely discredited. Archaeologists have shown that ancient civilizations like the Egyptians, Maya, and Sumerians developed their incredible cultures independently. They have their own unique timelines, languages, and architectural styles. Attributing all their achievements to a single lost civilization is not only inaccurate, but it also disrespects the ingenuity of these amazing ancient peoples. Finally, we have mistake number 7, thinking that finding Atlantis would solve one of history's greatest mysteries. The search for Atlantis is often portrayed as the holy grail of archaeology. But as we've discussed, most experts don't believe there's a real city to find. The true mystery of Atlantis isn't its location, but its meaning. Why did Plato write this story? What was he trying to teach us about society, ethics, and the dangers of imperial ambition? The value of the Atlantis story isn't in a physical search, but in a philosophical one. It is a timeless allegory that challenges us to think about our own societies and the choices we make. So, while the idea of a lost, technologically advanced city is incredibly appealing, the real story of Atlantis is a powerful piece of political philosophy created by one of history's greatest thinkers. The legend has grown and changed over centuries, absorbing our hopes, fears, and our fascination with the unknown. The quest for Atlantis might not lead to a sunken city of gold, but it leads us to a deeper understanding of storytelling, mythology, and human nature itself. What part of the Atlantis myth fascinates you the most? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest legends. See you next time.